Good morning, wrestling fans. This wonderful Wednesday, September the 7th, 2022. It sounds like everybody's got nephews that are going to school and going places, except for me. I'm kind of out of that club. I'm out of the nephew club completely. So I'm the odd man out in this equation. But I'll tell you who is not the odd man out. That's Linda Kay, who is joining me this morning. Linda, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, as I always am. You may not be part of that nephew conversation me and Mita had yesterday, but you are the gentleman squire.
I am the gentleman squire, and maybe I can. I don't necessarily want to adopt a child. Maybe I can adopt a nephew. Would that kind of be like the Big Brothers Club or something?
If you look at it that way, yes.
The after school thing. Well, anyway, that's something I guess we can look into. Maybe we can start a mentorship program here on the PWR show. But if you're a mentor or not a mentor, or a nephew or not a nephew, you want to dress well, and maybe you were dressed well, and maybe an article of clothing got ripped in an altercation, a physical altercation over the last couple of days. If that's the case, Linda, where would you go to get you some new threads?
Yes, I would restock my apparel by going to collarandelbowbrand.com. As always, check out the latest and greatest in wrestling street fashions. Lots of great stuff there, and it's back to school season. I don't think we really touched on that as far as refreshing our wardrobe while we are discussing our great partners over at Collar and Elbow. So collarandelbowbrand.com, and to save a little cash, to save 10% off your order, use promo code Linda K. That's LINDAKAY.
Some days and some weeks we go to the news and there's not a lot going on. We're having to kind of do a little bit of research and see what's happening in the world of professional wrestling. That is not the case this morning, nor has it been the case the last couple of days. And it's not just because we're coming out of 87 and a half hours of wrestling this past weekend. Linda, this has been, and I want to preface this by saying, a non-death event or a non-tragedy in the wrestling world. As far as a big news story, I don't know that you've had more speculation and more interest in more people just scratching their heads maybe since Montreal Screwjob 1997. This has been an insane last few days, and we could spend this entire show and probably the rest of the week talking about various reports and conflicting reports and this, that, and the other, and I don't want to spend too much time on that. The news is out there, basically just to encapsulate what the talk is, a lot of the conjecture is that apparently after that very controversial press conference you and me had discussed yesterday morning, there was some potential physicality that took place backstage between people involved in the press conference and people mentioned in the press conference, or the scrum, which I think is a very fitting word for everything that is being talked about right now. And what I want to take a few minutes on this very program, and I think that the news actually hadn't hit when me and Meathead were doing our post-show coverage the other morning, but a lot of speculation between people in the wrestling community, and mainly by that I mean fans. News outlets are reporting on this as this is fact. This is what's happening. But I want to take a few minutes and just talk to you, Linda. The thought has been put out there. Anytime you see stuff like this in professional wrestling, is it a work? Is it a shoot? And I kind of want to just grab your thoughts for a few minutes and really ask the question, if this is a work, if this is some grand scheme, is it just an absolute horrible piece of business, or is this professional wrestling in 2022 and we just kind of have to take it with a grain of salt?
Yeah, I mean, another somewhat recent example of this or this type of intrigue and steer confusion within AEW was the whole MJF
Yeah.
pipe bomb. Just for example, there, this one definitely takes it to a whole nother level. Um, we did hear about the physicality, the reports of the altercation after that press conference, the scrum, as I guess right, we're calling it the media scrum. Um, have we yet to have that verified? I mean, there are reports of there about certain individuals involved that will not be at Dynamite tonight, which is crazy, just coming off the heels of a tremendous pay-per-view. I mean, fans in Buffalo, I mean, if they're not getting Punk, if they're not getting Young Bucks, Adam Page, or if it's true that A Steel, who was reportedly involved in a lot of that altercation, will not be there as well. It's just, at least, a lot left to wonder. And as you said, it leaves you scratching your head. Is this a work, or is this just some
Well,
crazy turn of events after,
you know,
just winning this title? And it's just mind boggling.
Linda, not only am I scratching my head, I'm biting my fingernails.
Oh,
Yeah,
like there
I'm
was
biting my
this.
fingernails because that's yeah, and toenails as well too, because that's
Oh,
I feel the I don't know, just about this story, I just feel the need to just, not just scratch my head, but to bite myself as well. Here's the thing, like, if you were to try to work the fans to make kayfabe a thing as much as you can in 2022 to get us back to, and I want to just segue here for a second. Some years back, this is when I still had I had one of those VHS to DVD converters for a while. Okay, so I
mm,
still had a functioning VHS machine, and I think this may have been a few years before the network, but a friend gave me, I think it was 87 or 88. It was the Crockett Cup. And I remember sitting down and watching that, really, really going back some years in wrestling. And my takeaway from that was, just looking at the crowd, looking at the investment in the crowd, that's an era you're never going to get back. You are never going to have as many people fully bought in as you did because of, the acknowledgement of the business, the internet, the WWE, WCW, ECW, every promotion under the sun, shoot interviews that exist. That level of kayfabe you're never going to get back. I think that if you wanted to, this is perhaps a route. This is perhaps how you would do it. Because here's the thing: we are not actively, trying to get in locker rooms. We were not at the scrum. PW, you know what? We need to work on PWR getting an invitation to the next scrum because that
mm-hmm.
sounds where all the action is at. At least, at the very least, you might be able to get some baked goods from a place in Chicago, as long as you don't go on Monday or Tuesday, from what I hear. But you that these professional wrestling media outlets, they're after a scoop, and so you potentially get fed something, you think you can beat somebody to it, you are going to report it. And I could see a universe in which this is how you would do it. I don't think that's what's happening here. And if this is what they are trying to do, I don't think it's effective, because I think it paints the company in a bad light. B, there's a different feeling associated with this than you have. I personally, and this is me speaking myself, I think a lot of people tune into professional wrestling for. I think that WWE, since going back, I watched the NXT pay per view on delay. I watched Raw Monday night, but WWE has actually felt like a very, very nice diversion here in the last few days from all the craziness that's going on with AEW. And I think that a lot of people who are fans of professional wrestling, that's what they want. And this, am I being worked? Am I not being worked? Is this backstage? Is it not? I think that would potentially turn a lot of people off. And the analogy I want to make before we close this out is, your favorite actor, whoever it may be. All right, let's do this hypothetical. Let's say Tom Hanks just goes on
Who
this
is my favorite
spree.
actor, by the way? How did you
Oh my
know?
goodness, I did not know that. But let's say he goes on this streak, Linda, not streaking, but I guess he could do that in one of his roles, and just becomes this maniacal villain that, wow, Tom Hanks is just an awful person in this movie. And then he has a stretch of movies where Tom Hanks is the new most hated guy in Hollywood. You try to basically blur the lines, and Tom Hanks just goes in character and just starts doing this egregious stuff in public, and you're like, is that legit? Is it not legit? I think that what happens is people they get turned off by how horrible they think Tom Hanks is as a person, and they don't pay money to see his movies. And I think you potentially run the risk, if this was how you tried to work people in 2022, I don't think it would have the desired effect that, say, a company that was trying to work people in 2022 through this method would. I don't think it would have the desired outcome.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy, but I totally get what you're saying. I mean, just the whole thing. I mean, if you really dissect everything, I believe what I saw was the start of the press conference. There wasn't a question necessarily brought up about Colt Cabana. It was one of the writers and journalists that Punk is familiar with. I think he's from the Chicago area as well. And Punk just started going off about whatever, history, whatever beef him and Colt Cabana have. And I don't think that was even like the question. And it didn't really steer toward anything pertaining to the title just being won just not too long ago at this huge pay-per-view. That was interesting. Certain angles at the press conference, okay. And something I know you and I have really thought about, what we really want to really dissect and figure out, what exactly were those beverages that
Oh my
CM Punk
goodness.
had on the table.
So he's probably trying to hydrate. So it is, I imagine. I mean, I have drunk water out of a can before. I know canned water exists. It's possible it was that. It's possible it was some hydrating, basically electrolyte type of deal in a can. But here's my question. I counted 8, and may have been 6, but I counted 8. The mode of transportation of that water was what has really intrigued me. It was in like this cellophane wrap, or like this plastic bag, not a plastic shopping bag, but like this cellophane like plastic. I don't know what that was. I've never seen that method of transporting beverages before, Linda.
Perhaps it was a gift. If it comes in, those nice cellophane wrapping that you can use in lieu of a paper gift bag, because those amount of cans would have torn through traditional handles from a paper gift bag. But yeah, I'm gonna take a wild guess that it's coconut water, very
Ooh,
hydrating. It's
yeah,
also
yeah,
uncarbonated, because I'm a big seltzer fan, and I know that if I even drink just say an eighth of one
yeah,
can, I mean, I'm belching all over the microphone, and I don't
yeah,
think he did that.
yeah. No, he may have gotten a few brownie crumbs on the microphone though.
Ah,
Because there was some baked goods to be had there at the scrum. But before we close this out completely, I want to give you my speculation, and my speculation is this. Okay, I know it's not necessarily the same property or the same media group or whatever, but is it a coincidence, Linda, that AEW is on Wednesday nights? You know what else is on Wednesday nights?
the court
Yes.
show from
Yes,
A&E.
yes, yes. And all of this that's going on here, who needs to decide the outcome of these people potentially involved in this altercation except the American people? That's right. The way justice should be handled via a text message vote. I'm just saying.
Well, that's ironic, because last night on NXT we found out that the fans get to vote on some of the stipulations for the 1-year anniversary of NXT 2.0 next Wednesday night.
No way. Has it been 1 year already?
That's what, yeah, next week is the 1-year anniversary of NXT 2.0. And, shades of Taboo Tuesday and Cyber Sunday. The fans are going to get to partake and choose, I think it's like an opponent for Carmelo Hayes, a stipulation for the tag team championship match. Other fun ways, but what a way to bring in the first year anniversary. I was gonna say the new year. That doesn't make
Absolutely.
sense.
Although it's going to be very, very confusing saying first year of 2.0. Like there's too many numbers there, too many conflicting numbers that are
That's why we
close
got
together.
Axiom.
That's right. That's why he was there, who was in action last night. Well, Linda, before we break down NXT last night, we did have our pay-per-view kind of sandwich in between WWE and AEW this past weekend, NXT 2.0 Worlds Collide, where I had predicted that NXT UK was going to take every single title and make NXT immediately turning NXT America into faces and have a whole situation there in the Performance Center where they were going to have to root on their favorites, and that apparently didn't happen. But we got a good show. We got a very, a very concise for the weekend show coming in around 2 hours that would kick off in the match that we thought was going to steal the show for the NXT North American title. Ricochet going up against Carmelo Hayes in a match that absolutely did not let down. Before the match, we had Carmelo Hayes basically put the jerseys in the rafters of everyone that he has beat. And you know what? By the end of this match, Ricochet would be added to that collection. Carmelo Hayes over Ricochet to retain.
Yes, they did not disappoint, especially the moment that I had to watch back a couple of times. The dual, I don't know, was it a dual sling blade? A dual stunner? I'm not really sure, but I had to watch it a few times. Definitely got a holy chant going on there at NXT there. And oh, man, I called it this would be, well, personally, I said this was going to be the match to watch for, and I thought it was. And what a way to kick it off. And the A champ, Carmelo Hayes, still the champion, defeating Ricochet. I know there may have been some shenanigans from Trick Williams, but not too much. I mean, a great showing by both the A champ and Ricochet.
Absolutely, a match that came really close to stealing this show. Came 2 matches in. It was the fatal 4-way unification match for the NXT Tag Team Championship. Creed Brothers going up against Pretty Deadly versus Gallus versus Briggs and Jensen. Now, we had seen earlier in the day that someone, it almost looked like the scene of an attempted murder of Roderick Strong earlier in the parking lot in the day. So we had an air of mystery going into this match. However, we would ultimately see the team that I really wanted to see come out of this victorious. And my the 1/3 correct prediction that I had, Pretty Deadly, going over after we basically had the breakdown of Diamond Mine.
Yeah, that was quite a shock there. I mean, this whole time we thought Roderick Strong was going to be the one to make the huge turn on Diamond Mine. Perhaps it may have still been in the works, but since he was laid out, Damon Kemp making a huge statement there. And I'm going to jump too far ahead into NXT from last night, but we got an explanation on to why he reacted and did what he did. But that was a shock. Not quite as strong as the Dominic Mysterio turn there, but definitely reminiscent to it, considering it was just hours apart. And things like this, I definitely enjoy seeing in a huge event like Worlds Collide. I mean, that was a huge, huge pay-per-view, like, as you said, sandwiched, in between 2 other huge premium live events. But NXT 2.0, I mean, I know you and I have been watching it weekly, and I just think the product's just getting better and better, and this event definitely proved it.
Absolutely. And we would go to another title match, the triple threat unification match for the women's title, Mandy Rose versus Blair Davenport versus the NXT UK Women's Champion, Meiko Satomura. This would be another solid match, and this could have gone a lot of different ways, and I'm pretty much going to come down from my little high horse of Mandy's going to drop the title here because she's going up to the main roster, because that did not happen this time either. NXT Women's Champion Mandy Rose retaining, now the unified NXT champion.
Yeah, the NXT Universe on site, they're really behind Mandy as well. What a great showing by all three ladies. But yeah, Mandy Rose just definitely the face of NXT 2.0, definitely holding it strong as the champion. And it's going to be maybe, I mean, it's over 300 days, but I think we're going to get past the 1 year point definitely with Mandy as champion.
Our NXT Women's Tag titles were on the line with the team of Katana Chance and Caden Carter going up against Doudrop and Nikki ASH. This would see your NXT champions retain, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit into NXT 2.0 from last night because towards the end of this match, I believe it was Nikki got distracted by Toxic Attraction, who would then actually go on to have a match last night that would see, that would actually see Nikki and Doudrop going over Toxic Attraction. So Nikki and Doudrop, who we saw on Raw Monday night, we would see again on NXT, picking up a win over NXT talent. So this kind of goes into the speculation we might have had last week, and I think it was when we were talking about Ricochet in the North American title, perhaps having somebody kind of going back and forth and making the whole thing a little bit more fluid. Might Nikki and Doudrop be that team that's kind of going back and forth between main roster and NXT?
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of them the past 2 weeks, and just going from Scotland to KC to Orlando in a matter of hours. And again, jumping ahead to NXT from last night, but we also saw Doudrop getting quite a boot there to the face with some bleeding taken on there. So I think there's definitely going to be something continuing on between Toxic Attraction and Doudrop and Nikki ASH, where, I mean, honestly, I think we can just keep that program running strong without having to bring Doudrop and Nikki ASH to Raw or SmackDown. But I have a feeling they're just still going to be on both right now. If they were on Raw the other night, then on NXT, unless things change due to that physicality from last night, I think we will see them on both shows, as well as Ricochet.
Yes, I don't disagree. Our main event, NXT champion Braun Breaker going up against NXT UK champion Tyler Bate. And Linda, I got to say, I think this is the best Braun Breaker match that I've seen. This got some time. It went longer than a lot of Breakers matches have. And it would be Braun Breaker coming out on top and coming out strong. Again, kind of where I've been at with Breaker is he seemed like a guy that was probably destined for the main roster pretty soon, but this is turning into a lengthy title reign. And, you know, I got to say, not that he's not a current WWE main roster guy, but Breaker strikes me as a Vince guy, somebody that Vince would kind of, get up there and shoot to the moon, as long as he didn't get bored and tired with him. I wonder now, with things going the way they are on the main roster, if Breaker might have a little bit longer of an NXT career in his future, and this would be an indication of that.
Yeah, I mean, just like with Mandy Rose, he is definitely the face of NXT 2.0, and while a lot of the fans there were behind Tyler Bate more, that it's not, at least just from what I was catching off my television, my telephone too, telephone, right? That it could have gone to Tyler Bate, but I'm just still, and it was mentioned last night at NXT as well, the whole NXT Europe change. I mean, unless I missed something, unless I have to dig for it and read more about it, on NXT 2.0 programming at least, there really hasn't been too much that there's been mentioned, and this has been why we've had this invasion, if you will, of all these NXT UK talents being in Orlando the past couple of weeks, and obviously those great matches at World Collide. But I want to know this changeover. I mean, we still had a lot of the same talents wrestling last night, which is awesome because there's still more that can come from the feuds we saw at Worlds Collide. But come NXT Europe, when that happens, does that mean they go back across the pond? Does that mean some stay? Just a lot for me to really dive in and figure out. However, the element of surprise is great as well. I just don't know if I'm missing this change out, like when that's happening, what exactly it'll be like. Will it be a mix of both American and European talents?
Coming up on the 1-year anniversary of NXT 2.0, we introduced to you NXT 3.0. Huh? I think that might be what's in store. Well, we would actually kick off NXT 2.0 last night, and we got as close to an answer as I have heard. Tyler Bate opening the show and basically saying he's the last NXT UK champion. So I think the brand is done. I think what we see on NXT main roster, and also too, I keep forgetting this, Linda, but there is another NXT show, I believe. I may be wrong with the name. I think Level Up or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is available, on Peacock. So that might be, the next. We might see more stuff playing up on there, because right now they don't really reference a lot of the content, but I could see that being a little bit more of a, required viewing on a weekly basis. We would see Tyler Bate interrupted by Gallus and Attack. This would bring out Braun Breaker. So basically those two forming a team that would meet Gallus later on in the main event. As we stated before, we would see Nikki ASH and Doudrop victorious over Toxic Attraction. We would see more former NXT UK talent in JD McDonough going up against Wes Lee. And while we didn't have a great showing for NXT UK Sunday afternoon, I believe was when it actually occurred, we would see a strong night last night with JD McDonough getting the win over Wes Lee. JD McDonough actually playing a role a little bit later on in the night, but it looks like we may be getting another little prominent spotlight for JD McDonough, Linda.
Absolutely, especially it really being made known to us how he loves inflicting pain, and to himself too, as we saw with that ballpoint knife pen or what it was that he used to sign in blood. But at first when he had that bitten back with that, it wasn't the physician's dummy, but it was, remember that he was
yeah
that was interesting. And then when he walked through the crowd and didn't really say bad things, but just said interesting random things, I really wasn't sure where that was going, but it's kind of showing it's not that he's insane. He just loves to inflict pain and likes to stir the pot, if you will. But and he's got great aerodynamics by being able to hang upside down for a long time. So I'm actually a little bit more intrigued behind this JD McDonough character.
Absolutely.
The JD, if you will. Yeah.
While Mako Satomura was not victorious on Sunday, we would see her in a match against Roxanne Perez and get the victory last night. So another NXT UK member victorious over an NXT, I guess, USA roster member.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this match. It was definitely a great showing, a great outing by Roxanne Perez. I mean, I know they were kept pointing out her look of probably just like shock and awe, like this is happening. But I'm sure deep down inside as well, she was just probably just amazed and just gleaming with joy about this opportunity she was getting against a legend there. But great showing by Roxanne Perez. Really impressed by what I saw there as well. And of course, stirring the pot, we've got a little Cora Jade there at the end. So it's keeping the feud going between her and Roxanne Perez as well.
Absolutely. Trick Williams going up against Ricochet, potentially not being done with that program between Williams and Carmelo Hayes. Ricochet getting the victory here. So, we might see Ricochet back and forth between both brands.
Yeah, I mean, still going strong as well. And we want some more of Ricochet and Carmelo Hayes, and it definitely looks like we'll be getting that.
Absolutely. Nathan Fraser going up against Axiom in our the first match in our best of 3 series. And I think if there's anybody who is entitled to a best out of 3 or 5 or 7 or 9 or 11 or 13 or 15 or how many matches, it's Axiom, because he's the guy that loves math, Linda.
I was thinking that as well after the match. Well, he's definitely got the advantage thus far, but internally enjoying it as well. That the stipulation has a little bit to do with numbers and it's gonna say division, but I'm not sure if that's the right word. I was never a great math student.
Me neither. And with it actually being a prefix to my name, you would think I'd have more of an interest in it. But I think I always viewed it as something that was, basically just trying to get the rub off of Matthew Thomas and just abbreviate, the first syllable of my name. And I never appreciated and never really liked math. But here's how I want this to end: is I want Frazier to get the win in the next one, and I want the third match to go to a draw or something. And I want there to have to be some type of complicated algebraic equation in order to figure out how to settle this.
Something we will need a Texas Instrument.
TI-83, absolutely.
Calculator, yeah.
No,
scientific calculator.
And I think that'd be a great. I think he comes out there with the blackboard, he breaks it out, and you have an Oprah Winfrey moment in the NXT universe there, and everybody in the NXT universe, they reach under their seat and they have their very own TI-83 calculator to do the problem with.
And then we bring out Andre Chase, and we have Chase U to continue with that.
And it would basically be kind of a WWE crossover to a PBS segment where you just basically have 2 hours of educational programming. That would be. I cannot wait to do the recap on that NXT show, Linda. Well, last night's NXT show would end with Braun Breaker and Tyler Bate going up against Gallus. Breaker and Bate getting the win. However, Bate attacked by JD McDonough at the end. So we referenced it earlier, but JD McDonough back in, looking like the semi-main event on NXT 2.0.
Definitely, and he's got some history with both Braun Breaker and Tyler Bate. Triple threat. I'm smelling triple threat.
I think so. I think that makes a ton of sense. Well, I tell you what, you can also expect. You can expect more great content from the PWR Today team tomorrow as we break down the recap of whatever is going to happen on Dynamite tonight. Will we get any answers? Will it be addressed? Will we have more questions than answers? Will there be a post-Dynamite media scrum? All these answers and more tomorrow on PWR Today. Although, Linda, we really should call tomorrow's episode of PWR Today PWR Tomorrow.
Yes.
Because it's PWR Today tomorrow doesn't make sense. So on tomorrow's episode of I guess we can lead in by saying tomorrow's episode of PWR Today. That way we're keeping the name and we're still getting tomorrow in there. Until then, for Linda Kay, this is Matthew Thomas. We'll talk to you then.